Welcome back to Investing Talk podcast. Today we are zeroing in on a really interesting company, Ambow Education. They're right there at the intersection of tech and higher education. And the big question we're tackling for you today is pretty critical. Is now a good time to buy Ambow Education? We're going to synthesize, the latest fundamentals, the technical charts, key news, basically give you a clear answer, fast. We know your time's valuable. And hey, before we jump in, if you find this breakdown helpful, please do subscribe, like the show, and drop a comment below. Seriously, if there's a specific company you want us to analyze next time, just leave its name in the comments. We actually read those.
Yeah, and it's important to set the stage here. Ambo Education is in that small cap ed tech space. So, inherently higher risk, but maybe, just maybe, high reward too. Their whole game seems to be using AI to digitize higher ed, which definitely gives them potential upside. But we need to figure out why the market seems to be, well, kind of ignoring them right now.
Okay, let's unpack that. Starting with the financials. What jumps out immediately when you look at the numbers? Profitability, valuation.
Well, the first thing is this combination, right? Solid growth, but a valuation that seems almost absurdly cheap. They reported 11.9% year-over-year revenue growth. Trailing 12-month revenue, TTM that is, hit $9.70 million. That's actually quite competitive growth for this sector. Suggests they're getting traction. But here's the real kicker, especially for a small edtech company that you'd expect to be burning cash. It's profitable. Net income was $1.98 million, and EPS, earnings per share, came in at 69 cents on a trailing basis. That shows pretty decent operational efficiency.
Okay, liter $1.69 EPS. That feels important because, like you said, the valuation, the trailing PE ratio is just 5.17.
Exactly, 5.16. And just to give you some context, the sector average for U.S. edtech peers, it's often way higher, like over 15.
15, easily. Sometimes 20 or even 30, right?
For sure. So a PE of 5, it just screams. Well, it makes you ask, is this a value trap? Is the market seeing some huge risk? Or maybe it's just limited visibility, what's baked into that low number.
Right. A PE that low usually signals trouble. So playing devil's advocate, what could justify that? Are they drowning in debt? Maybe?
Surprisingly, no. The balance sheet actually looks pretty healthy. Their market cap is small, around $10.2 million, but they've got a lean debt profile and positive free cash flow. That gives them flexibility for strategic moves. But it doesn't explain why the market's valuing them so low. The risks, I think, are more tied to market access, maybe revenue consistency. We can get into that. And just to note, they're not paying a dividend currently. It looks like they're putting resources back into growth and innovation.
Okay, so fundamentally, it looks undervalued. If the balance sheet's okay, then the question becomes, what's the competitive advantage, the moat? In ed tech, it's usually the tech itself, right? So what's driving this profitability? What makes them different?
Yeah, it's all about their proprietary platform. It's called HybriU. It's an AI-powered, they call it a phygital learning solution. Phygital, meaning it blends the physical campus experience with digital delivery. It's not just another online course platform. Think more like a live, immersive digital classroom setup. It helps universities replicate that accredited on-campus feel for students anywhere.
So that replication of the experience and keeping the accreditation standards, that's probably the key for getting universities on board.
Absolutely. And you see it in their recent partnerships. Back in June 2025, they announced deals with University of the West and also Colorado State University. And then, significantly, in July 2025, they launched the HybriU Global Learning Network. Basically, this network lets U.S. universities use these digital classrooms to enroll international students in places like Singapore and China. It's a direct, tech-driven path to scale globally.
Interesting. And beyond just signing up universities, they've gotten some high-level recognition, too. That must help with credibility.
That's right. In August 2025, they were actually recognized as part of that White House pledge focused on expanding AI-powered education nationally. That kind of government nod definitely reinforces their position as a leader in this specific niche. And it could, open doors down the line for bigger contracts, maybe add some revenue stability.
Okay, White House recognition is nice for branding, but government stuff can be slow, right?
Yeah.
Does that translate into actual revenue, like next quarter? Or is it more of a long-term thing that doesn't really address that low PE risk right now?
It's probably a bit of both, honestly. But the tech is driving immediate revenue, too. We saw that back in October 2024. They signed a $1.3 million international licensing deal specifically for the HybriU platform. So that shows the platform itself has value, not just for enrolling students, but as intellectual property they can license out.
Okay, so we've got this picture. Fundamentally strong, profitable, clear AI advantage with HybriU, but trading at this the oddly low PE, it feels like the fundamental investors are missing something or maybe scared of something. So let's shift gears. What about the technical traders, the folks watching money flow? Are they starting to notice this discrepancy? What do the charts tell us?
Well, the chart suggests that, yes, some money is starting to wake up. We're seeing a pretty clear bullish trend developing. The stock is currently trading above both its 50-day moving average, which was around $3.40, and the 200-day down at $2.80.
Right, that crossover between the 50 and 200-day averages is usually seen as a strong bullish signal, often means institutions might be stepping in.
Exactly. It often signals accumulation by larger funds.
And what about momentum indicators like MACD or RSI? Do they back this up?
They do. The MACD indicator is positive, and it actually flipped to a buy signal about 3 months back. And importantly, the RSI, the Relative Strength Index, is sitting around 42.4.
42.4, so neutral territory, maybe slightly bullish, but definitely not overbought yet.
Precisely. That's the key takeaway. It's not overbought. There's still potentially plenty of room for it to run higher before it looks technically stretched. Suggests more upside is possible without needing a big cool-off first.
Okay, so the technicians seem to be saying, yeah, the fundamentals might finally be getting noticed and there's room to move, but we have to talk about the risk. This kind of stock isn't exactly a smooth ride, is it?
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah.
You have to be realistic here. This is a stock with really high daily volatility. We're talking swings between like 7.3% and almost 11% per day.
Wow. Yeah. That's not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not some sleepy utility stock. This is much more suited for active traders or investors who are okay with checking things frequently, especially around news or earnings. That volatility means you can potentially capitalize on catalysts, but you absolutely need good risk management.
Right. And just for context, it closed at $3.57 on October 8th, 2025. And it has shown strength recently, 15 positive closes in the last 30 trading days. So the trend's up, but that volatility is always working. So what are the specific risks? The things investors really need to watch out for, which might help explain that low PE.
Yeah, there are three main ones, mostly tied to its small cap status. First, as we just said, the high volatility. Big price swings are normal. Second, the revenue can be what we call lumpy.
Meaning it depends heavily on when big deals land. So quarter-to-quarter numbers can jump around a lot.
Exactly. Because it relies on timing for those large licensing deals or new university partnerships, you can't just look at one quarter in isolation. You really need to follow the company's news actively. And the third big risk is just the lack of visibility. There's very limited analyst coverage.
Ah, right. Fewer professional eyes watching it means bigger information gaps.
Yeah. And for a lot of large funds, that lack of coverage makes it harder to invest, which probably contributes to keeping that PE suppressed. It's definitely a stock more suited for, the individual investor who's willing to do their homework.
That makes sense. Okay, that frames the risks well. Now, flipping back to the potential upside, what are the specific events, the catalysts we should be watching for in the next, say, 3 to 6 months? Things that could really move the needle and maybe close that valuation gap.
Okay, there are several things brewing, especially in the short term, like the next 0 to 3 months. First and foremost is the Q3 earnings report. That's expected sometime in November 2025. This report is going to be absolutely critical. We need to see if they sustain that double-digit revenue growth and if margins expanded, basically confirming that the recent deals are paying off.
Makes sense. What else?
Second, institutional activity. We'll be watching the 13F filings that come out for the period ending in October 2025.
Right, the 13Fs show what big money managers bought or sold.
Exactly. Seeing new big names come in or existing ones adding shares would be a huge validation signal for the market.
Okay, earnings and institutional buying. And then there's always the rumor mill, especially with smaller tech stocks.
You can't ignore the speculative buzz, for sure. There's unconfirmed chatter, but it's out there, that Ambow could be an attractive M&A target in the ed tech space because of its specific AI focus. And there's also been talk, again, just speculation, about a potential dual listing or maybe uplisting from its current exchange to a major one like Nasdaq or NYSE.
An uplisting would be huge for liquidity and visibility.
Massive catalyst, if it happened, instantly opens it up to way more investors and capital. So, when you put it all together, the strong fundamentals, that super low PE, the bullish technical signals kicking in, plus this cluster of near-term potential catalysts, the overall picture looks pretty constructive. Our overall rating, we'd call it bullish, probably an 8 out of 10. It seems attractive for both short-term traders looking to play those catalysts and maybe for longer-term investors who believe in the structural growth story around AI and education.
There you have it, a clear synthesis. The AI moat with HybriU, the surprising profitability, that head scratcher of a low PE ratio, and a technical setup that looks bullish but definitely comes with volatility risk. Hopefully you feel like you've got a much clearer picture now. And just one final thought to leave you with as you watch this company, considering their AI focus and that White House pledge participation, how quickly could sustained U.S. government support, maybe through big public-private partnerships, accelerate their growth compared to some international ed tech rivals who might not have that same domestic government tailwind? Something to keep in the back of your mind as you see if the market starts to reevaluate AMBO education.